Hey, Coach, can you hear me? Oh, why can't I mute? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there
There
we
we
go.
there we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with questions. Alex will have our first question.
Yeah, hey coach, I was just wondering if you had an injury update on Taylor Rapp. Also, how did Khalil Shakir and Josh Allen come out of the game with their minor ailments?
Yeah, so we'll start, Alex, with Taylor Rapp. He's in the concussion protocol, so that's where that stands currently. And then you mentioned Josh. Josh is sore, should be fine as we move forward here. We'll continue to take it one day at a time, but should be fine. And who was the other one you mentioned?
Khalil Shakir banged up his ankle early in the game.
Yeah, Khalil fought through it. It's one of those situations. We'll see how he does this week, taking it one day at a time. Just kind of, I'll let you know each day how he's trending, and I know he's really sore this afternoon. So,
If Taylor's situation is extensive, is there any consideration to maybe giving Micah Hyde a call and crossing that bridge, perhaps?
well, we feel good about the guys that we have here. We'd start there first. That's always on our radar. You know how we feel about Micah.
And final question, just reflecting on the trick play in the third quarter, do you have any additional perspective on that?
Yeah, we talked about it after the game. We talked about it again today, and I think we feel pretty strongly that that's a situation that we want back, and we can learn from, and we will learn from. Felt like we had some momentum there at that point in the game, Alex, and we were doing a fairly decent job at that point, at least in the second half, of moving the football, albeit it was a 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6 situation, what have you. That's one we want back for sure, and that's something we can learn from, no doubt.
All right, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. Thanks for taking a little bit of time. Lost in the outcome of the game. Khalil Shakir sets an NFL record. Just wondering if you could share some thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, he's an incredible person, amazing player. Just his consistency, Josh, speaks for itself. What a pro. He's done a phenomenal job. And again, to push through the way that he did, he tweaked it fairly early in the game. And I thought was a credit to him and the way he pushed through it right there.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. John Worrell. How much do you think that was yesterday's result a reminder of how much this team, especially the way it's formed right now, relies on complementary style of football?
Yeah, that's big. We go into their place last night, right? And it was a big crowd and home game for them. So they were certainly amped up and we were ready to go. And then, we got off to a little bit of a slow start there, in particular with the long run that we allowed to Derrick Henry. And then, that environment ratcheted up even more than it was already ratcheted, so to speak. And again, if you can get off to a good start early in the game and quiet the crowd a little bit and get into a rhythm, that certainly helps. And we've been able to do that at points, I think, most of the time this season, in fact, but yesterday, not so much.
And as much as you can imagine, the sky is falling among numerous Bills fans. What is your take on this being 3-1 right now?
Well, I think we've done a lot of good things, and yet at the same time, we've got a lot to work on. And last night was a great reminder for all of us of things we need to make sure that we're taking care of week to week, game to game, and that we're detailed the way we need to be detailed, and that we're playing physical the way we need to play physical, and so and then to your point, playing good complementary football. That's an important piece to winning football in the NFL.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, any update on, I know Terrell returned to practice on a limited basis last week, and Taryn and maybe their early week status heading into the Texans week?
Yes, TB is improving. Both are improving. TB probably more so at this point. We'll see how the week flows for both of them. I do expect TB to be practicing at some point during the week. Taryn, a little bit more of a question mark at this point. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. And then when you said on TB, like a little bit more of a chance to play, just for clarification, sorry.
Well, practice right now.
Practice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, off of John's question a minute ago, how much is it from your perspective, as much as you've learned in your seat over the last couple of years, um, is it about, I know we talk about not riding the roller coaster, but really getting the point across to your team, even in a moment like last night where it didn't seem like a lot went right, focusing on the things you've done well and the immediate shift to, okay, now you have some problems to fix and focusing on that. How much have you learned about that process in your time as a head coach?
No, it's important, right? I think experience is important um, because you need to know what adjustments to make, one, and then how much of an adjustment do you need to make without either underreacting or overreacting. And so a season, as I may have mentioned to you guys last night, is about making adjustments and tweaks and recalibrating in some areas, polishing in others, and then sometimes getting a reminder that you got to go back and reteach the standard, reteach the fundamentals, and making sure that we're going back to the basics that we need and that are so important to playing winning football.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, AJ here in Rochester. Josh talked about after the game that it's good to have a loss like that, in week 4, and that you can learn a lot from it. When you watch the tape back from that game, what are some of the biggest things that you learned from the performance last night?
Well, I think just when you go into it, what you look at early is us playing well early in the game, and so that wasn't in our favor, complimentary wise, as John alluded to, and then I did like how we battled back in the late second, early third quarter, and we had it to, I think it was 11 points with maybe six minutes to go, 6 minutes and change maybe there, and there was a big momentum change there, as has already been talked about. So as poorly, I guess, as you could say, we performed up to that point, and as well as they had performed, we were still in it at that point in the third quarter, and then things went downhill from there. So give them the credit again, things we can learn from, and it's important that we, operate in the truth and that we get those things corrected here quickly.
And then on the injury front with Terrell and Taryn, when you come off of a defensive performance like that, how do you kind of have to manage not rushing them back, both, on a coaching standpoint and just for the players themselves, not pushing them too much? Because I imagine after a game like that, they're kind of, itching to get back out there.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. I think more than anything, we've got to trust our training staff. The players have to do that as well. And I think we do a good job of that here with just, hey, if they give us the green light, they give us the green light. If they don't, then we've got to wait another week. So we'll just have to see where that goes.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Sure.
Just one more from me, Sean, on Cam Lewis. Obviously has played pretty well over the last couple of weeks in place of an all-pro guy in Taryn. When you watched that thing back last night, and I think his Pro Football Focus had him for 4 of the 11 missed tackles that they had charted throughout the game. What did you make of his performance and that continued growth that you've seen, or where there's areas to improve for him?
Yeah, I mean, Cam's a good football player. We've talked many times about him and what he's been able to do, wearing different hats, playing different positions. Listen, we believe in Cam Lewis. Last night, maybe not his best performance, but again, that's a situation where he'll learn and he'll move forward, and we'll move forward. And again, I just think these lessons you don't like losing. Nobody likes losing. it is important though that we learn these lessons because hopefully it helps to make us a more well-rounded team as we go forward and move forward as a team here.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Coach Mookie Hawkins, 1-4 Sports Cincinnati. Welcome back.
Hey Mookie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, it happens, right? Things don't go out as way you plan and things like that. This seemed like you guys were just a little flat, couldn't really establish any type of rhythm due to, they jumped out 21, some odd points. How much of that did alter your game plan?
Well, it did to a certain extent, but it didn't necessarily need to as early as maybe it did at times, right? I felt like we were able to run the ball early and probably got away from it just a little bit. And I know that's again something we talked about today, and we'll learn from. And just overall, I think defensively we started to settle in a little bit early third quarter there with a couple good series, and like I said, we were down. I think at that point it was 11 points, in the third quarter there, and had the ball. So again, a lot we can learn from this game, and we've got a week on tap for us here. We've got to make sure we can get some guys healthier and see who's going to be in the lineup for us, and go down there against a good Houston Texans football team.
Absolutely, Coach. I know you always talk about situational football. The trick play, what was your thoughts about that play call in that certain situation?
Yeah, that's one of the areas, Mookie, I addressed it earlier that we want back. It's probably not the best call for that situation, and something we'll learn from. And I felt like we had some momentum, like I said, and on a second down call in particular. And I know Joe and I spoke about it. He feels the same, and so that's a situation we'll learn from.
Absolutely, Coach. Hey, 3-1 first quarter of the season isn't bad at all. Moving on to the second quarter, you're no stranger to this, so I know you get back to the drawing board, right?
That's right. You got it, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely, Coach. Talk to you soon.
Hey, Sean, only 9 snaps for Von Miller yesterday. What went into the decision to limit his time on the field?
Yeah, we're this, Alex. We're trying to be mindful of his snap count and managing that overall. But again, this is where we played the game on their terms with not winning enough first downs, second downs, what have you. So it limits the amount of one-dimensional type situations we were in, where they're forced to drop back and throw it. So again, give credit to them, and those are things we've got to learn from as a defense and improve so that we can get them into a one-dimensional situation. And then you see more of Von and whatnot. Now he still plays from time to time on first and second down, right? But overall, just trying to be smart with that as well.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, I know you've addressed this some, but I was curious, after that first touchdown drive, the first drive they had, was there anything specifically when you watched the tape back on defense that took time to settle in? Like, what wasn't clicking, and why did it take time, do you think, for you guys to settle in early there?
Yeah, I think, with the dual threat that they have with Derrick Henry in the backfield and Lamar, I think we were spending a little bit there in terms of where our eyes needed to be and what keys we needed to have our eyes on. A lot of the game, Elena, is key recognition, right? Because the keys tell you where the ball is going or where you're supposed to be. And so I think our eyes were a little bit undisciplined, and we were doing some things that were uncharacteristic, and that happens from time to time. So I'm looking forward to our guys learning from that as we move forward here.
Josh mentioned last night that he thought they came out with more urgency. Is that something that, how do you address something like that? Did you see that? And how do you correct something like that going forward?
Well, I feel like we've been rather urgent early in games, all the way through the season. Miami game on the road, albeit a different environment. This game, I felt like, to Josh's point, they had a little bit more intensity maybe than we did. So, and then what happened is the long run ratcheted it up another level, right? So that the environment went up even more, and so that I think that probably knocked us back on our heels a little bit, and that again is something we can learn from and need to learn from as we go forward to keep our poise and just settle in. And we did that like later on in the game, excuse me, later on in the game, but I didn't feel like we did that early enough there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, you talked about some of those lessons learned in last night's game. How can you use some of those lessons to get ready for a team in the Texans who have a great wide receiver core and a really great defensive line?
Very skilled team. I mean, they've been loading up, for some time last year, and then the off season this past off season through the draft, through free agency, it seems like, and they already had a good team coming off of last year's team. So it's going to be a big challenge for us again going into their place, and they're highly skilled at those key positions, as you mentioned, defensive line, wide receiver.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
That's all we have time for today, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.